We're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 54th episode of the FilmBrony Podcast. I am, of course, Nick Canino, the guy in charge of this, and with me, as always, I have a guest who is the creator of the podcast. So, introduce yourself.
Well, better late than never. But right now, we finally going to conclude 2024 and put that mediocre year to rest.
Yeah, really. And I do apologize to you guys that I took a month and a half long we took a month and a half long hiatus with this. It's just I had so much on my plate lately, and especially with work. And I know I promised that to you all we would have a best of list. Don't worry, that's coming this Saturday. This Saturday. So stay tuned for that. It's just with work and my mental health, it's just I gotta take care of myself first before I can even do these types of podcasts. So I do apologize for all this, but you know what, guys? At least this week you're getting not one but two podcasts. As I stated before, we're doing our regular podcast today, and then on Saturday, we're going to be doing, for our 55th episode, we're going to be going over the 20 best movies that Søren and I saw in 2024. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about celebrating these films one last time and finally putting this godforsaken year to rest. But anyway, let's get on with our usual topics. With our usual thing, we start with starting with the Blu-ray showcase.
All right.
And hello, Taz. I'm doing just fine. How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
All right. I have The Accidental Tourist.
Great film.
Beetlejuice.
Really good movie.
Best in Show.
Oh, great film.
The Blair Witch Project.
Really good movie.
Blockers.
Really, really funny film. Oh, by the way, Søren, I hate to do this, but oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm sorry. You knew I had to like bring up that scene from the Blair Witch Project.
I haven't even seen that movie, but I don't understand how that performance was Razzie worthy.
I don't either. I mean, sure, if you didn't love the movie, that's fine, but it's not Razzie worthy. Like, come on.
Yeah, the sequel was, but that's another story.
Yeah, really.
Anyways,
and we will mention that both of those films later this year, I should add.
Yeah. The Butler.
Good movie.
Cowboys and Aliens and Super 8.
Nice.
Deja Vu.
Nice.
The movie that Pixar's Cars apparently ripped off, Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, Doc Hollywood is way better.
This Focus Features Blu-ray collection.
Nice.
Halloween 3, one of the better sequels, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
Heretic.
I also have Heretic. Let me see.
Yeah, Taz, Save a Bikini Bottom, which is garbage.
Yeah, I'm just thankful I didn't even bother seeing that. I'm just thankful I didn't bother. Oh, where the hell is that? Where the hell is? Oh, I put that. You go on with the rest. So.
All right, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Nice.
Inside Out 2, the best anime.
Oh wait! There it is. I had it. Yeah, Heretic. There it is. I was way off.
Anyways, Inside Out 2, the best anime film of the year.
From.
La Vie en Rose.
Nice.
The Man Without a Face.
One
I
of
haven't
those
seen that
just
film, but I bet it's way better than a certain thriller we'll get to 2 podcasts from now.
Yeah, I'll talk about that movie later when it gets released.
Anyways, Tom Cruise's Mummy, not great, but not horrible.
I'm
Certainly better.
sorry, Søren, but I hated that movie.
It's not a great movie, but there was some good stuff in it, and I'd much rather watch that movie than Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
I would honestly rather watch Tomb of the Dragon Emperor than that piece of shit, honestly.
Anyways, Once.
Great movie. That was the direct from the same director that brought us Sing Street.
And yeah. Pollock.
Great film.
Pretty Woman.
Really good movie.
Problemista.
Nice.
Next, I have Francis Ford Coppola's last great movie, The Rainmaker.
Yep, his last great movie. I really love that movie, and it's a shame that it's his last great movie before he became nothing more than a has-been.
Yeah. A Real Pain.
I also own A Real Pain. I also own that film too. Here it is.
Ringu.
The original Ring.
Sail and Slot, the OG version.
Nice.
Saturday Night.
Yep, I also own that film too. I already showed it on the podcast, but I might as well show it again. And Inside Out too, just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Anyways, Shower the Vampire.
Great film.
The best film of last year, The Substance.
Great movie. A great film. And guess what? I also have this film too.
This Thrills and Chills Blu-ray collection.
Nice. To be honest, Jack really wasn't all that bad.
Yeah, it was actually kind of decent. But if you really want to see Francis Ford Coppola's worst movie, Youth Without Youth.
And Megalopolis.
This Ultimate Gangsters collection.
Nice. Once again, I still don't understand how he could spend for God's sake, I don't understand how he could sell his own wine company just to make this movie.
Nick, I know you're going to kill me for this, but the Venom trilogy. At least we can agree it's way better than something like Morbius or Madam Web.
That I agree with.
The Wild Robot.
Yep, I own. Oh boy, where did I put? Oh god damn it! Where did I put that? Oh, I just realized. Yep, right here.
Willow.
Nice, the Ron Howard film.
And last but not least, Wicked.
I also own that film too. Okay, well, I have 11 Blu-rays with me. Some of the ones I already showed, but I might as well. Most of the ones are the ones I already had previously, and some of them I already showed. But you know what? Might as well show them again. One of my favorite movies of 2013, The Wolf of Wall Street, directed by Martin Scorsese.
One of his very best, for sure.
Yes. One of my favorite movies of 2015, and Adam McKay's best film to date, The Big Short.
And his best political film, but that's not really saying much.
Nope. My number 2 film of 2016, La La Land.
In my top 3.
Yeah, and then my number 2 of 2018, A Star Is Born.
Bradley Cooper should have won over Rami Malek for
He
sure.
Should have won. He should have won. But no, give it to Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. One of my favorite movies of 2020, Minari.
Fantastic film.
Mm-hmm. And then you already mentioned this, The Substance. Clint Eastwood's Juror number 2.
I'll have to get that.
Again, fuck you, David Zaslav, for not releasing this nationwide. Fuck you.
Indeed.
Next up, I already showed this one, but A Real Pain, one of the best of 2024.
Indeed.
And then Heretic, I already mentioned this, but I might as well mention it again. Wicked, a great film. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see for good next. And since David Lynch passed away last month, I thought I would dedicate this next one to him. Mulholland Drive.
Honestly, that should have been nominated for Best Picture over.
That should have. That should have. One of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. I sadly didn't get Blue Velvet since it didn't have it, but you know what? This will do. This will do. Anywho, it's time to wrap up. And yeah, I'm sorry, Coppola. It's time for you to retire. That is a really tricky question, to be honest. If I had to choose, I have to say David Zaslav.
Yeah, at least the other ones don't shelve already completed projects just for the sake of quick buck.
Yeah, really. Just let's just get into the reviews before we lose our goddamn minds.
Yeah. First, we're going to talk about a film called I'm Still Here. So, and this is a movie that I've never really heard of up until it's gained awards buzz, and it's safe to say it was worth it. The story about a Brazilian family who tries to live under a brutal dictatorship is mostly compelling thanks to screenplay and performances, particularly from Fernanda Torres. Cinematography and pacing also
what
solid.
A performance she gave on that film! Like,
My only problem is that it may have one or two too many endings. Like, it had a perfect place to end as the family finally decides to leave, but then it does a jump cut to 25 years later, which I found pretty unnecessary. Then it does another time jump to another 20 years later. It felt even more unnecessary than the last. Other than that, this is definitely worth searching for, either online or in theaters, as it's a hell of an experience either way. It gets an enthusiastic seal of approval.
This is absolutely one of the best movies of 2024. Not knowing much about this movie, other than like the fact that it's based on the dictatorship or republic that took place in Brazil in the 1970s, and not knowing that this was also based on a true story, made this one of the best movies I saw in 2024. It's just, there's so much I absolutely loved about I'm Still Here. From its engaging and gripping story to its excellent screenplay, especially with the having well-written dialogue, as well as the film doing a fantastic job exploring its themes on family, justice, politics, reconciliation, and the resilience of motherhood. And I'll get to that political stuff in a bit, but you'll see where I'm going with this. It's got fantastic. Walter Salles did a wonderful job with the way he directed this film, especially with how he guides us through this terrifying like time when Brazil was under dictatorship. Like, great. Like, he did a wonderful job with the way he directed this film. The acting was absolutely terrific, especially from Fernanda Torres, who, honestly, if it wasn't for Mickey Madison and Demi Moore, she would be my pick to win Best Actress at the Academy Awards. She is that great, and it's due to how raw, heartbreaking, and powerful her performance came off as. Especially when you feel the fear in her character later on in the film with what she goes through. It's got fantastic cinematography, terrific editing, excellent production values and costume design. And it's a political thriller. It's a political drama that does not come across as preachy whatsoever. When it came to some of the political aspects in the film, it doesn't come across as preachy, and rather it comes across as genuine. And that's what I loved about this movie. Not once did it feel preachy. And instead, it just came to tell the story about this family whose lives were shattered after the husband was kidnapped. And it doesn't shy away from showing its very dark elements, especially when it came to what was going on in Brazil when they were under dictatorship, and when it came to this one scene that takes place in a prison that, oh my God, it had me on the edge of my seat throughout. Like, oh. And I know Søren had a problem with the multiple endings. I did not, because I love that the movie actually shows the aftermath, like not just 20 years later, but for 25 years later, but for also 20 more years later, which I thought was a brilliant decision. I mean, without showing more of that, it wouldn't have been like without showing more of the epilogue, of the family, it wouldn't have we wouldn't even see like the aftermath of like what the family went through with this. And that's why I loved the way it showed the aftermath 25 years later, and then 20 more years later. Yeah, overall, this is one of the best movies I've seen in 2024. I'm Still Here is one of the most heartbreaking, yet compelling, captivating, and hauntingly gripping films I've ever seen. And given today's climate, it shows on why history like this is very, very important in our lives. And I'll bring that up again when I talk about another film later, but you'll see where I'm going. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Movies like this not only show why I love movies in general, but why history is important. And I absolutely love this film. It is one of the best movies. It is one of the best movies of 2024. And with that, I'm Still Here. It gets a very enthusiastic 10 out of 10 or 8. Well done to everybody involved. Check it out, please.
Now we're going to get to a movie called Queer. And when I first heard about Luca Guadagnino's latest film, it seemed like an interesting spiritual successor to his award-winning Call Me By Your Name. Fortunately, though, I pretty much got nothing out of it. The performances are all stellar, especially from Daniel Craig. The soundtrack is stunning. The soundtrack is stunning, and it's got beautiful cinematography and production design. However, for the first two-thirds, it's somewhat boring. Daniel Craig and Drew Starkley had some pretty flat chemistry, and it really meanders. And the third act is from an entirely different movie.
When the hell did it go from being like a love story to like all of a sudden like a freaking jungle survival movie all of a sudden?
Yeah, and with some pretty bad CG too, especially on that snake.
Yeah.
So I'd only recommend this to hardcore Guadagnino fans and those who like seeing Daniel Craig and Drew Starkley's abs. And in the words of Jeremy Johns, watch the first half on streaming and then stop. As for me, it gets the seal of mediocrity.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Søren. The acting was terrific, especially from Daniel Craig, who was terrific as William Lee, and Drew Starkey was excellent as Eugene. And And I have to disagree with you on the chemistry because I thought their chemistry was actually really good. I thought they actually had some good chemistry in the film. Leslie Manville, despite not being in the film that much, was also one of the biggest show stealers in the film as well. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's musical score was excellent. It's got fantastic cinematography, good editing, and excellent production values and costume design. Unfortunately, the story felt all over the place, and I was also really disappointed in the screenplay, especially since, despite its good dialogue, the characters felt paper thin and underdeveloped, and it doesn't do much with exploring its themes on loneliness and the struggle to form meaningful connections, the pain of exquisite, of unrequited love and self-destruction fueled by denial of one's sexuality and identity, especially since it doesn't even explore those themes all that much, and it was really disappointing. Luca Guadagnino's directing was also a muddled mess. I was also disappointed with that too. And the pacing was a wonky mess in some parts. And despite its strong first act and solid second act, the third act completely derailed the movie. Like I said before, when the hell did we go from a period romantic LGBT drama to a surreal jungle drama film all of a sudden? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like if you were to make a movie. It's like if you were to make like a drama movie. It's like if you were to make a comedy movie and then all of a sudden have the third act be like a war film all of a sudden. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It would be a cold day in hell if they already swept the Golden Globes, but it would be a cold day in hell if Amelia Perez ended up sweeping the Oscars. And the ending was very underwhelming, too. So, overall, despite Daniel Craig's wonderful performance and the film being visually appealing to look at, not only was Queer unfortunately lacking in substance, but it also felt rushed and underwhelming. And given that it has a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, it definitely qualifies this one as being one of the most overrated films of 2024 for me. Not a bad film, but not something I'll ever see myself watching again. 5 out of 10 or C+.
Now we're gonna get to Night Bits, and this is one of those movies when I first heard the premise and the main actors and director, I was interested in this movie. But after I saw the reviews in poor press, I ended up not watching it. But later down the line, I got curious enough to end up seeing it. But after seeing this, I really wish I stuck with my decision to not see it. Not to say this was terrible, as the actors are all good, especially Amy Adams. The makeup on her is impressive, and when they actually focused on turning her into a dog, it was really interesting. However, my biggest problem is that it never really took advantage of its premise. Most of the movie is just her struggling as a mother and wife, and it's just so boring to sit through. Then the editing is all over the place. At some point while watching this movie, I was thinking that I missed out on putting this as one of the worst movies of 2024, but then I thought, nah, I've seen worse. So not terrible, but certainly not one I want to watch again. I'll give it the seal mediocrity.
This one is a mixed bag for me. The acting was great, especially from Amy Adams, who absolutely delivers one of her better performances in years. It has a great soundtrack, excellent cinematography, and the editing was actually pretty solid, especially with how it quick cuts the days as well as struggles of being a mother. And the effects were actually really good, especially with how they were able to transform Amy Adams' character from being a human to a dog. Unfortunately, the story didn't grab me as much as I hoped it would, due to it coming across as half-baked and underwhelming. And not to mention, I was also really disappointed with Marielle Heller's I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but she was the same director that directed The Diary of a Teenage Girl, Can You Ever Forgive Me, and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which I loved all those movies, by the way. I was really disappointed with her directing in this movie, since not only was it clumsily directed, but the writing she wrote for the film was a mess, especially since, despite its solid dialogue, the screenplay had characters that come across as being underdeveloped and paper thin, the tone being so inconsistent where it can't decide if it wanted to be a dark comedy or a body horror film, and the themes of motherhood and the boundaries and struggles of it, as well as messy human behavior and creative life, sadly never came to fruition due to the movie not doing enough with exploring those themes. And not only was the pacing a meandering mess, but the ending felt rushed and underwhelming. Like, as soon as it ended, I was like, "That's it? Really?" Yeah, overall it was okay. While Amy Adams delivers a brilliant performance, and the film has some entertaining and intriguing moments here and there, I sadly found Night Bitch to be half-baked and pretty underwhelming, and that's why I give it a disappointing 5 out of 10 or a C+. Again, not a bad film, but not something I would ever watch again. Next up is the Gia Coppola film, The Last Showgirl. It stars Pamela Anderson and Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's focused on a middle-aged Las Vegas showgirl who is faced with an uncertain future after learning that the revue she has performed in for over 3 decades is scheduled to close. Now, I first heard about this movie back in December when I went to go see A Complete Unknown, and they showed the trailer for that, and I was really interested, especially given that Pamela Anderson has been getting a lot of Oscar buzz for her performance. And the story actually caught my interest. The less we say about that overrated drip, the better. Yeah. And so I was really interested to see The Last Showgirl, and I really liked this movie. The story felt highly engaging. Gia Coppola did a very good job with the way she directed the film. The screenplay was very good, especially with it having solid dialogue and characterization, and the movie doing a good job at exploring its themes on age, beauty, and devotion. The acting was great, including from Pamela Anderson, who was absolutely magnificent as Shelley. And Jamie Lee Curtis and Dave Bautista are also great in the film as well. And hell, when you got Brenda Song in the film and she's really good in the film, you've done a really good job. It's got an excellent soundtrack, terrific cinematography, some good moments of humor sprinkled into the midst, and best of all, excellent costume design. As for issues with the film, some of the editing choices felt a bit uneven. The pacing was a wonky mess at times, and the ending felt rushed. But that's really it. Overall, The Last Showgirl features a magnificent performance by Pamela Anderson, and I found this movie to be fascinating, entertaining, and moving. I really like this one, and I'm going to give The Last Showgirl an 8 out of 10 or a B+. Next up, I just saw this today. It's the Mike Leigh film, Hard Truths. Now, Hard Truths is about centers around the plight of a depressed and naysaying woman, played by Marianne Jean Baptiste. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And a relationship with her jovial sister Chantel, played by Michelle Austin. I was interested in checking this one out. I mean, I really love Mike Leigh. Some of my favorite movies that he's done are Secrets and Lies, Vera Drake, and Mr. Turner. So I was really interested to see how I was really interested in seeing this one. And given the positive Oscar buzz the actress Marianne was getting, And oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna say this right, and I'm gonna say this right now before I talk about my praises for the film. If you're not into movies that are more ambiguous with what it's trying to say involving its depression, and Happy Go Lucky was a great movie too. But anyway, if you're not into movies that have a complex ending and ambiguity, you're not gonna like this movie. But for me, I loved this movie very much. It felt relatable, moving, and poignant. Everybody in the film was terrific. Marianne Jan Baptiste. I'm sorry. Again, I'm really bad with pronunciations. She was magnificent as the woman who's depressed and Nate who's depressed and angry. Now, normally I wouldn't like. No, normally this wouldn't be my kind of movie that I would want to see. Like why in the hell would I want to sit through like a movie involving a woman who's depressed and angry with the world? But Mike Leigh somehow made the film feel more relatable and real, given how well written her character felt, especially when later on in the film, I'm not going to get into what happens. You understand, this movie throws in some subtle hints at you as to why she ended up being like this. So, and I actually went along with it too, and that made it for a somber and empathetic experience. Michelle Austin was brilliant as Chantel, and the actor that played the son Moses, he was terrific. And I'm gonna put the name of this guy and then show it to. This might take a moment. There we go. Yes, that's the actor that played the son Moses. Pansy's son Moses, and he was absolutely terrific in the film. He was terrific. And and what I loved about Mike Leigh's screenplay was how it was able to like explore its themes involving like depression, grief, and loneliness. And the characters that he wrote for the film feel fleshed out and real. And that made it for more of a highly engaging. Oh shit!
Sorry, I pressed the button.
Oh, all right. That's all right. And that made it for a highly engaging story as a result of this. It's got terrific sound design, fantastic cinematography, terrific editing, great pacing, and it's also not afraid at being funny as well. Like for the first half of the film, with what Baptiste's character does in the film, usually this wouldn't be my kind of. Usually I would get a bit frustrated with this, but man, I was laughing so hard at some of the dialogue and some of the lines that she was saying. Like, wow, way to make your dialogue well written while also being funny at the same time. Like, oh my god. And the ending, as I stated before, will divide a lot of people. Like it's very ambiguous and complex with what the ending was trying to say. Again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but I actually understood what he was trying to do, and you know what? I actually went along with the ending, and I actually went along with it, and that made the ending actually more overwhelming, if I'm going to be honest. So overwhelming. But yeah, I really love this movie. It is not an easy watch, but Hard Truths is one of Mike Leigh's best movies he's done in quite some time, since it features a fantastic performance by Marianne Baptiste, and it is one of the most heartbreaking yet emphatic, relatable, poignant, and moving films I've ever seen. And it is easily one of the best movies I've seen. It is easily one of the best movies of 2024. If you love Mike Leigh and the actress, I highly recommend giving this one a watch. This is definitely a very enthusiastic 10 out of 10 or an well done, Mike Leigh. And the fact that she was snubbed from the Best Actress category over Carla, over that oh my god, over that racist and anti-Semitic bastard. Just what the fuck?
I'd honestly nominate June Squibb or Tilda Swinton instead of Carla.
Yeah, really.
Anyways, let's get to The Fire Inside. This one I felt the same way as A Complete Unknown, as in it was just alright. It does have its neat cinematography and boxing sequences. It's well acted from the likes of Ryan Destiny and Brian Tyree Henry. However, it was really slow and meandering at showing the main character's life with little to no boxing whatsoever. And I know why it was like this, but it just didn't do it for me. So I guess make of it what you will, either see it or don't. I'll give The Fire Inside the seal of accuracy.
I love this movie. Now, granted, it does go for those paint by the numbers stuff we've seen in other films before, but that's really my only gripe I have with the film compared to the rest. I really love this movie. It's well directed, well written. It's well directed. Barry Jenkins' screenplay was fantastic. The acting was terrific, especially from Ryan Destiny, who was brilliant as Clarissa T.Rex Shields. And Brian Tyree Henry also brought energy to the film as well, which really impressed me so much. And if the movie, and what I loved about this movie was how it kept going, showing the aftermath of her days her days after competing in that boxing. And that Olympic boxing, and how fame really has got to her. That really impressed me to no end. And on top of its excellent cinematography, terrific soundtrack, editing, and boxing sequences, and a very satisfying ending, this made The Fire Inside one of the most inspiring and entertaining and moving films I've ever seen. And with that, I'm going to give The Fire Inside a 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I highly recommend this movie. Check it out.
Now we're going to get to Nickel Boys, and this was one of those movies I was eagerly looking forward to ever since it gained all those Oscar buzz. However, after watching it, I seriously questioned its Best Picture nomination. I will say all the acting is on point, the lighting is neat, and it has some emotional scenes throughout. However, it was a mess. The movie runs almost 2.5 hours, and it just does not justify the runtime at all, as half the time it feels like they just let the camera rolling until it ran out of battery. Half the time it relies on this superfluous stock footage, sometimes reusing footage we already saw. And the story is all over the place, jumping between the past, present, and future, like it wants to be a Christopher Nolan movie when it's anything but. And as a result of all this, it was just so boring. Like, I came close to falling asleep in the movie theater a few times. So while this movie isn't terrible and is still a better Oscar contender than Amelia Perez, I still can't call it a good movie. It's honestly one of the most overrated films of the year, and I'm unfortunately giving this a seal of mediocrity.
This has to be one of our biggest disagreements yet. It really says a lot considering that you consider Joker for Filet Dieu one of the best movies of 2024 and Blonde one of the best of 2024. Oh wait, one of the best of 2022. And yet you found this to be like you and yet you weren't and yet you found this to be boring. I was not bored by this film at all. Yes, I did feel the runtime, but it didn't really bother me all that much because I loved the presentation of the film and the way I love the way it was presented. Now, yes, the slow burn pace and the first person technique will bother some. I'm not going to deny that. But I really love this movie. The acting was terrific, especially from Ethan Hesse, who was brilliant as Elwood, and Brandon Wilson was wonderful as Turner, and both of these actors had terrific chemistry with one another. And on John Ellis Taylor, again, I'm terrible with pronunciation, which is why I'm gonna put her name into this. I'm gonna put her name right here. Give me a second. Yeah, she played Hattie, the Elwood's grandmother, and she was magnificent in the film. And the fact that she was snubbed from the Best Supporting Actress nomination, like, why? The story had me invested throughout. The story felt highly engaging and well structured. It's very well directed. The screenplay was brilliant, especially with it having characters that feel well developed and with it having characters that feel fleshed out and real. Oh yeah. And I did not like Napoleon at all. Again, it's all in good fun, people. No need to take it personal. It's just all opinion at the end of the day. Anyway, okay. So, and what I loved about the screenplay was the way it explored its themes on like racism, trauma, as well as like friendship in a very well detailed matter, and that was absolutely brilliant. It has excellent production value, costume design, terrific cinematography, terrific editing. It's very well paced throughout, and I actually love the way it ends. I actually love the twist reveal. I'm not going to give away what happens towards the end, but that twist reveal I actually did not see that coming, and it actually made a lot of sense for why that choice was made. Yeah. So overall, I loved this movie. I really love this movie. It is one of the most powerful, compelling, and poignant films I've ever seen. It is a devastating one. It is a devastating and heartbreaking one, but it was also powerful, compelling, and poignant at the same time. I really love this one. It is one of the best movies of 2024. Of course, it's also getting a 10 out. Did you think what I was going to give it? Check it out. I love this movie. I love this movie. It is check it out. Just please check it out. And also, like I'm Still Here, this is one of those movies where it shows me why I not only love film, but why history is important, because we don't want stuff like this happening again. That's why people need to read more. That's why I feel people in a new generation need to study history more. learn a lot about not just study history, but learn a lot about it too. Because as one would say, those who don't remember the past are doomed to repeat it again. And movies like Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here are the perfect examples of that. Teachers, if you're covering, I have an advice for you teachers. If those movies get a physical media release and you are teaching your students about subjects involving the Jim Crow laws as well as the dictatorship, show them those movies. I would only recommend them for people aged like 11 and up.
Well, considering that Nickel Boys is under Amazon and I'm Still Here is under Sony Classics, I'm sure they'll get the physical releases.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah. Next up is on Baby Girl. I forgot. I got a little distracted there for a bit that I forgot to mention that. Okay, Baby Girl is the new film from the director of Bodies, starring Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson and Antonio Banderas, and it's about a powered CEO who puts her career and family on the line when she begins an affair with a much younger intern. I really like this one a lot, and let's dive right. And let me address the elephant in the room. Nicole Kidman is wonderful in the film. One of her best performances yet. The rest of the actors, including Harris Dickinson, and Antonio Banderas, as well as Sophie Wilde, they were all brilliant in the film too. It's very well directed, and the screenplay that Helena wrote for the film was terrific, especially with having characters feel related, feel real and fleshed out, and the film doing a wonderful job exploring its themes on obsession and desire, as well as sex. The sex scenes were brilliantly filmed. The excuse me. Oh my goodness, excuse me. The story felt highly engaging, and it's very well edited. The cinematography was brilliant, and so was the soundtrack with the film. And what I really liked about this movie was that although what Nicole Kidman's character is doing is wrong, you actually understand why she's like this, and because of how Helena Rain, the director of Bodies, made this more humanistic, made this more of a humanistic movie, and that actually made it, and actually got behind her doing all that. Now, was it wrong for her to do something like this? Yes. Especially what happens later on in the film when she gets some consequences for what she did. But with that being said, I didn't quite love it as much as I thought I would. There are some pacing issues the film suffers through at times, and the ending did feel a bit rushed. But otherwise, that's really it. I really enjoyed Baby Girl overall, and I give it an 8 out of 10 or a B+. I highly recommend this one, especially if you love Nicole Kidman and the director's previous movie Bodies. So check it out.
Next up is The Room Next Door, and Pedro Almodovar's latest film is definitely a somber one, about Julianne Moore, who discovers an old friend of hers is slowly dying and spends time with her until her death. Besides the writing exploring the themes of past life and whether it's worth living, this movie is nothing compared to to the two main actresses, Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, who just deserve a fair share of awards consideration. So this is among the director's best of which I've seen, and among the year's best as well, and it gets the seal of cinema.
I didn't quite love it as much as you did, Søren. I mean, I had some problems with some of the pacing and in the first and second act, and there were some flashback sequences within the first 15 minutes of the film that felt really unnecessary. I get why they were there, but it went on and on and on to the point where it just kind of slowed the movie down a bit. It just kind of dragged a little bit. But that's really it as far as my issues with the film are concerned. The story felt highly engaging and well structured. Pedro Almodovar's directing was terrific, and the screenplay that he wrote for the film was very good too. It had good dialogue, characters that felt fleshed out and three-dimensional, and the movie doing a great job exploring its themes on like friendship, grief, and death. And Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore are both terrific in this movie, and they had some really good chemistry in the film too. And on top of excellent cinematography and a very satisfying ending, this made the room next door a very somber and poignant experience. And despite the fact that I didn't quite love it as much as Pedro Almodovar's previous movies like Julieta, Pain and Glory, and Parallel Mothers, this is nevertheless one of the better movies I've seen in 2024. So, yeah, it is definitely a 9 out of 10 or an A-. I highly recommend this one.
Next, we have Better Man, and this movie tries to go for a new spin on the biopic genre by having Robbie Williams, not Robin Williams, Robbie Williams, be played by an ape, and I'll admit is an interesting angle, especially since the effects on him are pretty good. Other than that, it's just your typical music biopic, going through all the motions. It's got some pacing issues with scenes that kind of drag, but the visuals are neat, but the musical sequences are interesting. So I guess either take it or leave it with this one, it gets the seal of adequacy.
I love this movie. Now, my only complaint I did have with Better Man was that it was a bit too long. Like you could have shaved like they could have shaved like 10 to 15 minutes of it down, but that's really it. I love this movie, and it does feel a bit standard when it went given that it's a biopic, and it is standard for it is standard for a music biopic involving Robbie Williams, but otherwise, I love this movie. I really, really love this one. Robbie Williams, the acting was absolutely terrific, especially from Yonio. The acting was absolutely terrific. The visual effects were fantastic. It's very well directed, very well written, very well paced. The cinematography was fantastic. The soundtrack was fantastic. And it does a brilliant job of the way it explored its themes involving like fame, self acceptance, and depression as well as self destruction and self loathing. But yeah, and you want to know why? Because despite being well known in the UK, not a lot of people in the US even know about this guy. That's why it's sadly bombed. Which is a shame because
and there was a huge gamble seeing that they spent $110 million on this project.
Which is a shame because I really love this movie. I found Better Man to be one of the most entertaining films of 2024. and a very moving one too. And that's why I'm gonna give Better Man a 9.5 out of 10 or an A. I highly recommend this one.
Next up, September 5th, and the story about a news team who covered 1972's Mirror Massacre is compelling thanks to performances all around, the editing, and especially the screenplay. While it does feel slow at times, especially at the beginning and end, I still say the middle portion alone makes it worth recommending, and I'll give it an enthusiastic seal of approval.
This is one of the best movies of 2024 for me. How Tim Feldbaum recreated was able to like chronicle like and guide us to the Munich to the events of the Munich massacre that occurred in 1972, as well as the coverage as well as like showing us the coverage from the perspective of the ABC Sports crew made it for one of the most intriguing experiences, made it one of the most like gripping and intriguing films of 2024. It's not only was it well directed, it was also well written. The story felt gripping and engaging and highly engaging. The acting, especially from Peter Sarsgaard, John Magaro, and Ben Chaplin, was terrific. The musical score was brilliant. It's got excellent cinematography, fantastic cinematography, fantastic editing. It's very well paced throughout. It's got excellent production values, especially with how they were able to combine the real footage together as well. And I was also on the edge of my seat throughout, especially with how much real tension there was throughout the film. Watching this movie, it reminded me of like Oppenheimer, where you already know the outcome, yet you're still on the edge of your seat. You're still on the edge of your seat, wondering, oh God, what's going to happen next? Oh God, oh God, are they going to get out of this or not? But yeah, that made it an intriguing experience, and on top of its satisfying ending, that made it such an intriguing experience, and the ending was very satisfying too. So overall, September 5th is one of the most gripping, intriguing, and riveting films of 2024, and it is easily one of the best of that year too. I highly recommend this one, and with that, I'm going to give September 5th a very enthusiastic 10 out of 10. Check it out. It's well worth your time. And to answer your question, I could name like 3 of the most toxic fan bases ever. And keep in mind too, these 3 fan bases I'm about to mention are worse than the Brony fandom, which says a lot. If you want to know who they are, I will tell you. The Super Mario Logan fandom, the Loud House fandom. Sorry, Søren, I know you love the Loud House, but its fandom is terrible.
I don't love the Loud House. It's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10, but especially in the later seasons where it just completely went off the rails. But go on.
And the worst of the bunch, the fucking Star Wars fandom. The worst fandom in existence of all time. So yeah, those are the fandoms those are the 3 fandoms that I think are worse than the Brony community, which says a lot.
And last but certainly not least, we got to the Brutalist. And between this and last year's Oppenheimer and Kills the Flower Moon, this might just be the return of the historical epic, and boy, am I glad for it. Story about a Hungarian immigrant who becomes a famous architect is a sight to behold thanks to Bray Corbet's vision. Visuals are absolutely outstanding thanks to production design and cinematography. The music is operatic and is well paced for a 3.5 hour movie. But the performances are what truly make this movie. Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce are both outstanding, but it's Adrian Brody who gives his best performance in 22 years. So if you enjoyed Oppenheimer and Kills of Flower Moon, you'll definitely get a kick out of this one. As like those movies, this one gives you the historical epic you won't see anymore. It's truly going to kick it at award season, and it's one of the best films of the year, and I'm giving it to Seal Cinema.
Oh, how could I forget? How could I forget the Snyder fans?
Though, let's be honest, that fan base has been kind of dwindling ever since the Rebel Moon movies.
Yeah. Even still, though. Oh boy, have I been looking forward to talking about this all day. When I left the theater, I knew that I was in. I knew right off the bat that this was going to be on my list of the best films of 2024. And after it ended, I was so right. This movie blew me away. Like, this movie blew me away. Like, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. Give me a second. Let me pull this up. I'm not kidding when I tell you that The Brutalist was one of the most extraordinary films I've ever seen. Like, Brady Corbett did a wonderful job crafting a 3.5 hour epic involving this one man whom, after surviving the Holocaust, immigrates to America and starts a new life there for the American dream. But as he's facing he faces poverty, but then his life changes forever when he comes across a wealthy client who commissions him. Okay, I know I'm dragging this out for a bit too long, but yeah. Let me rephrase what I just said too. As a 3.5 hour epic involving this Jewish man who after surviving the Holocaust immigrates to America to rebuild his life, and then comes across a wealthy client who recognizes his talent, and then commissions him to build a large monument to end all monuments. This is not only one of the most extraordinary films I've ever seen. This isn't just one of 2024's very best films. It is one of the most. I'm not kidding. It is one of the most powerful, compelling, captivating, monumental, triumphant, exhilarating, and extraordinary films I've ever seen. There is so much I absolutely loved about this movie. Like, from how emotionally invested I was in the story, due to how well structured and monumentally engaging it felt, especially with the way the story is structured like an epic biopic on Laszlo Toth, even despite him the story and the rest of the characters in the film being completely fictional in a grand scope. Brady Corbett's directing is absolutely the best of the year. How he guides us through this 3.5-hour old-fashioned journey into Laszlo Top immigrating to America to rebuild his life, and then coming across a wealthy client to design a great modernist monument and helping to shape the landscape of the country he calls home, and the highs and devastating lows of it is nothing short of astonishing. It really felt like I was right there with these characters. And not to mention that the screenplay that he and his partner Mona Fastfold wrote for the film was fantastic and one of the year's very best, especially with how well-written and riveting the dialogue felt, how raw, fleshed out, and well-developed the characters felt, and how it does a brilliant job tackling and exploring its themes on immigration, greatness, artistry, and the relationship between wealth and talent, immorality, and trauma. The acting is some of the best of 2024 by a landslide. Adrien Brody absolutely delivers his best performance since The Pianist as Laszlo Top, and that's mainly due to how raw and powerful his performance felt. Like, give him his best actor Oscar, please. Guy Pearce also delivers his best performance since Memento as the wealthy client named Harrison Lee Van Buren. What's fascinating about his portrayal is the complexity of his character. Like in the first half, even despite him being short-tempered, he comes across as a very kind and understanding guy who's fascinated with Top's talent and wants to provide for him, give him a place to live, and shepherd him as he's designing and building this grand monument. But by the time the second half kicks in and you learn more about his character as the film progresses, you realize how much of a despicable person he is, especially with not only how his son, Harry, played magnificently by Joel Alwyn, acts, but what he does to Adrien Brody's character. I'm not going to give away what happens later on in the film that had my jaw dropped. Like, I was like this with what he does to him. I was like, that's how dark it was. And Felicity Jones doesn't show up until the second half of the film, but when she does, my God, is she fantastic in the film as Laszlo's wife. And once again, like Adrien Brody, her performance felt so raw and powerful that this is hands down one of the very best supporting performances I've seen from an actress in 2024. This also has the best musical score 2024, since the way I would describe Daniel Blumberg's score is in these words: powerful and epic. It has the best cinematography of 2024. The way it's shot in 35 millimeter, yet the way they converted it into not only 70 millimeter, but also VistaVision is astonishing. And on top of fantastic editing and pacing, as well as the best production values and costume design of the year and the best sound design of the year, and how it doesn't shy away from showing its very dark moments, especially when it came to Guy Pearce's character later on as the film progresses. The decision to use a 15-minute intermission after part one was also a great choice, and it has a very, very satisfying epilogue as a result, too. Yeah, it's no surprise I absolutely love The Brutalist. Yeah, it is a 3.5-hour film. Like, it really did feel like Martin Scorsese directed the film, even though he didn't really direct, even though it wasn't really directed by him. So, but you guys get the point. Yeah, overall, The Brutalist is an extraordinary masterpiece. Not only does it feature some of the year's best performances by Adrien Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce, but it is one of the most powerful, compelling, captivating, monumental, triumphant, exhilarating, and extraordinary films I've ever seen, and it is easily one of the year's very best film. And it is, without a doubt, one of 2024's very best films. And with that, The Brutalist, hands down, gets a very enthusiastic 10 out of 10. Well done, Brady Corbett, and to everybody involved. Well done.
Now, before Nick goes over his least and most anticipated films, let's go over the Oscar nominations. Now, after each category, I'm gonna and the nominations, I'm gonna go over first what I personally replaced, and of the nominees, I'm gonna go over what would win, what's almost guaranteed to win, what could win, and what should win. So here we go. For Best Picture, we have Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelie Perez. Sorry, just mentioning that name just gave me a gag reflex. Anyways, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. I'd replace A Complete Unknown, Amelia Perez, and Nickel Boys with Nosferatu, A Real Pain, and Sing Sing. What would win? Conclave. What could win? Anora. And what should win? The Substance. For Best Director, we have Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Cully...
Jacques Audiard.
Jacques Audiard, thank you. And Carly Fargad for The Substance. Replace James...
Get Jacques Audiard out of there.
Replace James Mangold and Jacques Audiard with Denis Villeneuve and Robert Eggers. Would and should win, Brady Corbet. What could win, Sean Baker. Best Actress, we have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gasson for Amelia Perez, which I bet the Academy is now tugging their collars after you-know-what, the recent controversies. Anyways, Mikey Madison for Anora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernando Torres for I'm Still Here. Replace Carla Sofia Gasson with June Squibb for Thelma. Would win, Demi Moore. Could win and should win, Mikey Madison. Best Actor, Adrien Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Replace Sebastian Stan with Nicholas Hoult. And I haven't seen The Apprentice myself, but I did see a clip, and watching his performance, it just felt more like a parody than anything. Honestly, the only reason why they nominated him, I guarantee the only reason why they nominated him is to get back at the president. That's the only reason why.
That's the only reason. And again, we're not going to bring politics into this.
Anyways, replace Sebastian Stan with Nicholas Hoult for Juror number 2. What will win? Adrien Brody. What could win? Timothée Chalamet. Who should win? Coleman Domingo. Best Supporting Actress. We have Monica Barbero for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. For me, replace Zoe Saldana with Margaret Qualley for The Substance, especially since she was my overall pick for Best Supporting Actress. Who will win? Zoe Saldana. Who could win and should win? Monica Barbero. Best Supporting Actor, you have Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. I'd replace Edward Norton and Jeremy Strong with Austin Butler for Dune Part 2 and Bill Skarsgård for Nosferatu. What will and should win Kieran Culkin, who could win Yura Borisov. Best Original Screenplay, we have Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, and The Substance. What will and should win Anora, what could win The Substance. Best Adapted Screenplay, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Replace A Complete Unknown, Amelia Perez, and Nickel Boys with Doom Part 2, I'm Still Here, and Inside Out 2. What will win Conclave? What could win Nickel Boys? What should win Sing Sing? Best International Film, Amelia Perez, Flow, Girl with a Needle, I'm Still Here, The Sea of the Sacred Fig. What would win Amelia Perez? What could win I'm Still Here? What should win Flow? Best Animated Film, we have Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. What will win The Wild Robot? What could win and should win Flow? Anyways, Best Cinematography, we have The Brutalist, Doom Part 2, Amelia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. I'd replace Amelia Perez and Maria with Sing Sing and The Substance. What will and should win The Brutalist? What could win Nosferatu? Best Costume Design, we have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. What will and should win? Wicked. What could win? Nosferatu. Best Film Editing, we have Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked. What I'd replace Amelia Perez with The Substance. What will win and should win? Anora. What could win? Amelia Perez. Best Production Design, The Brutalist, Conclave, Doom Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. What would and should win? Wicked. What could win? The Brutalist. Best Original Score, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. I'd replace Amelia Perez with either Doom Part 2 or Nosferatu. What will and should win? The Brutalist. But what could win? Conclave. Best Original Song, we have El Mal from Amelia Perez, The Journey from the 6888, Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Mi Camino from Amelia Perez, and Never Too Late from that Elton John documentary. I'd replace the Amelia Perez songs and the Diane Warren song with the compressed repress from Challengers, Kiss the Sky from The Wild Robot, and Alf Oklahoma from Twisters.
Kiss the Sky wasn't even nominated. Like, what the fuck?
What will win? El Mal. What could win? The Journey. What should win? Like a Bird.
Like a Bird should really win.
Best Sound, A Complete Unknown, Doom Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. Replace Amelia Perez with Twisters. What will win and should win?
Honestly, Taz, your guess is as good as mine. Like, and exactly. Like, again, not only did the story should not warrant this as being a musical, but you don't like mix that and you don't mix that as a crime thriller film as well. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Anyways, for Best Sound, what will and should win? Doom Part 2. What could win? A Complete Unknown. Best Visual Effects, we have Alien Romulus, Better Man, Doom Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. I'd replace A Better Man with Twisters. Will and should win? Doom Part 2. What could win? Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And last but not least, Best Makeup. We have A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. Replace Amelia Perez with Beetlejuice. What will and should win? The Substance. What could win? Nosferatu. And that's for the Oscar nods.
All right, so as promised, I'm going to go over my top 10. I'm going to go over my 10 most and least anticipated films of 2025. I want to go over the least first. just because I want to go over the ones that I'm not looking forward to seeing this year. And yes, that does include the movies that came out in January and February. So they already came out, but I have not seen them yet. So they'll be on this list. Anyway, number 10 and 9 are the ones I have mixed feelings about. And they are Avatar, Fire and Ash, and Jurassic World Rebirth. I've never been a fan of those Avatar films, and I've never been a fan of those Jurassic World movies, and that's why they're on this list.
I'm cautiously optimistic for Rebirth, since it doesn't have Chris Pratt or the director, but it has Gareth Edwards and Gilbert Coe behind it, and an all-new cast.
Still, the trailer did not impress me whatsoever, and that's why I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, and that's why I have mixed feelings on that. Number 8, Nickelodeon and Paramount. For God's sake, are you seriously continuing? Are you ever going to end this series at all? The SpongeBob movie, The Search for SquarePants.
That and the Plankton movie on Netflix are up there for me.
And look, I love the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob. I love the first 3 seasons. I just recently listened to one, the Rip His Pants, Rip Pants song, and that song is like the one I found the most relatable out of all the songs from the show. And shows that even a silly show like SpongeBob could have great lessons for not just kids, adults as well.
Hey, people who say animation is for kids, take notes.
This is what I have to say to people who say animation is for kids. That's what I have to say to you. Number 7, Captain America: Brave New World. This is honestly the only film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe I am dreading the most.
I'll talk about it in time.
Number 6. I was not impressed with how it looked, and I am not surprised it's being considered this director's worst movie. Flight Risk.
Y'all need a pilot?
More like y'all need a better movie and a better agent.
That movie is just so stupid.
I haven't seen it yet, and I am dreading the day that I do. Number 5, I saw the trailer for this, and I'm like, what the hell is this crap? Novocaine.
I've heard of that movie.
Look, I do like the premise. The premise does sound promising, but the trailer was terrible. And then number 4, because the first one was so successful at the box office, it was only a matter of time before we eventually got the sequel. Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
I'm looking forward to the day where I tear the fandom a new asshole again.
Same here. And speaking of video game-based movies, number 3, a Minecraft movie.
Jack Black went from Tenacious D, Kung Fu Panda, School of Rock, and Tropic Thunder to...
And the voice of Bowser!
To playing Claptrap, and now playing Steve.
This is what happens when your political view... This is what happens when your political views get in your head, Jack Black. Number 2, Number 2 was originally my least anticipated film of 2025 before another one took it, but it is Snow White. or as or as mentally Mitch would call it, Snow Blanca.
Those mentally Mitch videos.
You gotta, guys, after the podcast, you gotta watch those mentally Mitch videos. They are hysterical. I will put those videos in the description below. You will see them after the show. Trust me, they are hysterical. Oh my god. But yeah, I really thought that was going to be my least anticipated film of 2025. I really thought that. But that's nothing compared to my least anticipated film of 2025. And I'm going to sum it up with this. I met this guy named Influencer Smurf. He's a fraud! Yep, Smurfs. Why did we need another Smurfs film? And most importantly, why the fuck do we need a new Smurfs character named Influencer Smurf? That's like if you were to name a Smurf, if you were to have a new Smurf character be named TikTok Smurf or OnlyFans Smurf.
And why would you get James Corden and Rihanna in your movie?
No.
I mean, Rihanna was already bad enough in that Battleship movie, but this...
Well, that's one way to get me all fired up by having to hear that the piece of shit James Corden is back in voicing a fucking kids film all of a sudden.
He's just playing himself over and over again.
Yeah, really. It's just ridiculous. Honestly, you know it's bad when his best performance in the film comes from a Mike Lee film where he actually played a slacker. It was called All or Nothing. And he was actually convincing in that film. Yeah, his best performance in the film, his best performance in any film he was in was when he played a slacker. What does that tell you? But anyway, yeah, he's one of the worst actors ever. Anywho, that's gonna do it for tonight's podcast. I have
your best, your most anticipated.
Oh, my most anticipated. I forgot. Goodness me, I was okay. All right, so my most anticipated films of 2025. Number 10, I love the first film, and I can't wait to see this one. Wicked for Good.
I look forward to it.
Number 9, 28 Years Later.
I haven't seen the previous two movies, but director Alice Garland has proven himself. Director
Danny Boyle.
Director Danny Boyle, writer Alex Garland. Excuse me.
Yeah. Number 8, Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, the guy that brought you Fruitvale Station and Black Panther. Number 7, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
That's my number 1.
Number 6, Bugona, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos of Poor Things and The Favorite. Number 5, Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. Number 4, after 6 years after 6 years of not directing a movie, Bong Joon-ho, the director of the Academy Award-winning film Parasite, is back with a new film, Mickey 17. Number 3, Superman. Number 2, the Paul Thomas Anderson film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle from Another. And my number 1 most anticipated film of this year is an animated film, The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol. Directed by Sylvain Chomet, who directed one of my all-time favorite movies, The Triplets of Belleville.
I cannot believe I forgot about that when I did my list.
Well, good thing I mentioned that film.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that'll do it for tonight's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And like always, be sure to join us this Saturday at like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern when hell no! Hell no! Anyway, be sure to join us this Saturday at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, when Søren and I do our 55th episode of the FilmBrony Podcast, where we both talk about 20 of the best movies that he and I saw in 2025. Hope you guys look forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to talking about the 2024 films one last time and celebrating the best of them. And just in time for the Oscars too, I should add. And as always, be sure to subscribe to Søren Saunders on his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Give him the love he absolutely deserves. He's a very talented and creative person. And until we see you this Saturday for the FilmBrony Podcast episode 55, the best films of 2024. Hope you guys have a good night. And as always, take care of yourself. See you soon.